permission to march off the colors and the rest of parade, Your Excellency.
Right, you are watching the ceremonial welcome accorded to India's Prime Minister in Abuja, Nigeria by the country's President. Sakal.
Yes, President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his presence, Prime Minister of India being accorded that ceremonial welcome, which included the salutation in terms of 21 gunshots and, of course, the Indian national anthem. Ambassador, you would like to speak a bit about that Indian national anthem being played twice. Well, that would be the protocol there, but overall, how significant? I think this is also symbolic, and you know the symbolism, we were talking about it earlier, that symbolism also attached to this visit, that for Nigeria this is very, very important under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi.
I think from Nigerian perspective, it's the visit is very significant.
Yes.
Nigeria, it reaffirms to Nigerians that India is very interested in strengthening bilateral ties, which were declared strategic in 2007 when the last visit took place. They would also look forward to adding substance to it in very tangible ways. And there are, as I have already mentioned, there are areas of complementarity and there are areas of similarities that can be tapped for this purpose. The bilateral trade needs to be resuscitated through new drivers, and that is something Nigerians would be interested in. Nigeria has been under President Bola Tinubu since May last year, and President Tinubu was earlier governor of Lagos, which is the hub economically of Nigeria. He has taken since his presidency a number of very critical, long pending economic and political decisions which have created a bit of turbulence.
Okay.
For example, petrol and diesel prices have long been subsidized. He has suddenly removed those subsidies.
Okay.
Saving $10 billion per year for the exchequer. He has also freed the national currency of all foreign exchange controls.
Okay.
That has led to huge depreciation of the currency. Inflation has risen to 32% annually.
Okay.
Foreign exchange has become a bit scarce. Smuggling has become more endemic.
Insurgency, terrorism, Boko Haram,
at the same time, High Commissioner, India has resumed rice exports to Nigeria as well.
Yes, we used to be the largest supplier of rice to this largest market.
Sir, we will just interrupt you here. Well, you see there Prime Minister Narendra Modi warmly being welcomed as both the leaders shake hands. Yes, His Excellency, the President of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. Prime Minister Modi is in Nigeria upon the invitation of the President of Nigeria, and Indian companies dominating the economy of Nigeria, diaspora element being extremely significant, trade being the major driver or the component when we talk about the larger apparatus of India-Nigeria bilateral ties. This visit is important, coming up after the gap of long 17 years, last visit by the Indian Prime Minister in 2007, and now as we stay with these visuals, historic in many ways. Vishal, would you agree?
Very historic because it's not only a long wait but quite welcome break for the Prime Minister's arrival here, and today, as you informed the viewers also, that Prime Minister has been awarded the second highest national award of Nigeria, which is the Grand Commander of the Order of Niger. This is given to the people who have given who have contributed significantly for the development of Nigeria, and it is mostly given to the people of the stature of the Chief Justice of Nigeria. In fact, Queen Elizabeth II was the first way back in the 60s, and now it is our very own Prime Minister. So definitely it's a very big development, and it shows the faith and respect that Nigeria has towards the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi as the leader of the global south. Sakal?
Viewers, on your screen, visuals from Abuja in Nigeria. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, greeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi there. Vishal, continue talking to us. Now let's talk a bit about Prime Minister Modi's itinerary for the day. It's a day-long visit in a way, but a lot being packed in those 24 plus few hours. Tell us more. What do we have now next? Vishal. All right, we'll try and go back to Vishal in a bit. But meanwhile, Ramesh, we were also discussing before we went live again to Abuja, the diaspora, sir, the diaspora dimension, adding so much of substance, symbolism and much more to the Indian diplomacy here in the context of Nigeria, but overall.
Yes.
Under the current dispensation. Yes.
I will stress the importance of diaspora.
Yes.
Nigerian diaspora, for example, in Nigeria's Indian diaspora, comes in three different shapes, three different ethnic groups, sub-ethnic groups. Few went while India was a colony, and so was Nigeria. So from late 1890s, Indians started going there.
If I could just interrupt you, with your permission, of course, if you could just, talk a bit about this. Now, this is important. Look at the warmth, and they're not perhaps meeting for the first time, but this is important. Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi, the tallest leader when it comes to global South, and here you have the Nigerian President greeting him. Yes. What does this?
And just by way of context, Sakal,
Sure.
India invited Nigeria to the G20 summit held in New Delhi last year. And this year again, Brazil has invited Nigeria. So both leaders will be traveling onward to Brazil for this year's G20 summit as well.
So,
I think it's fair to say that Nigerians often look at India's experience to calibrate their own march towards the development issues. The President of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was, as I mentioned, Governor of Lagos, which is the economic hub of Nigeria. 90% of trade of Nigeria passes through Lagos, and most of the Indian community lives there. Some of them are mega rich.
Mega rich.
Yes. They hold the sinews of economic wealth and power there. So Mr. Tinubu has
as Abhishek just mentioned a while back, one of the largest employers there in Nigeria, after the Nigerians themselves. Yes.
It's the industrial hub, it's the export-import hub and commercial hub. Nollywood is all there. In fact, you'd be surprised, Nigerian film industry is, in terms of numbers of feature films produced, bigger than Bollywood.
Okay.
But they are small, and in terms of quality, they have something to catch up to. But so, Mr. Tinubu, in his last avatar, has had interactions with Indian diaspora and is known to be appreciative of their role in contributing to Nigeria in general and state of Lagos in particular. And therefore, his wider interest in growth of ties between India and Nigeria in general and through diaspora in particular is quite well known. So one would like to have this manifest itself during the visit. Prime Minister's own connection with diaspora
is phenomenal.
Is well
everywhere
known.
he goes.
Yes, he has added a new dimension to our diplomacy
Right.
by engaging wherever he goes consistently with the diaspora. And therefore, it makes two of them egging on the diaspora to take its role as a human bridge between India and Nigeria
Right, sir.
to its logical conclusion.
Right.
Now, as I was saying, there are three types of diasporas in Nigeria. First, who went before India's independence. These are mostly Sindhis and Gujaratis. They followed the Union Jack, went there in support of British colonialists, etc., and played a mediatory role between locals and the then British government. Second group followed after partition of India,
Okay.
when some followed their own relatives who had already settled in Nigeria to join them. Third wave came when oil prices went up in '73 after October War. Nigeria certainly had money but lacked professionals. These professionals came from India.
India, right.
And they stayed there, but Nigerian economy did not take off, and the oil prices started going back in early and mid 80s. So the economic conditions for the expatriates became less lucrative. Most of them returned. But lately, a new wave, piggy riding Indian companies and familiarity that you mentioned earlier of people being taught by Indians, treated by Indian doctors, etc., reverberating through the system.
And they coming here for training, developing the capacity building bandwidth that we have seen through this scholarship.
Scholarship as well as medical treatment.
Yes. Yeah, right.
And education in universities, skilling, buying of machinery parts and trade goods and consumer goods, etc. So all that led to more of diaspora going. Right now, although power-wise, economic and etc. would be the first group who went 100 years ago.
Right.
But then professionals are larger in number, and interface between Nigerians and Indians is mostly through these professionals.
Right. So we've covered bilateral ties. Excuse me, High Commissioner Sachdev. If you were to take a step back and look at the multilateral engagement between the two countries, India and Nigeria, correct me if I'm wrong, but Nigeria is interested in becoming a member of the BRICS, and both countries are also interested in UN reform in particular.
You are right. Nigeria has its own self-image as the largest, most populous, and till recently biggest economy in the African continent, biggest black state in terms of 54 countries of Africa. So they are interested in finding their place in the sun, as is India. And they've been domestically preoccupied, institution building, economic stabilization, etc. As I mentioned, President Tinubu especially has been engaged in. So they have not paid as much attention, but they crave for their role being appreciated. They have been very large contributor to the UN peacekeeping forces in the world, as we have been. So those are the issues that join us together on a multilateral forum. They want Bretton Woods institutions to be reformed so that developing countries can get more loan, more credit from IMF and World Bank, and support the developments without all sort of onerous conditions. So all these things unite us. At the same time, we are two emerging countries. So the role that we seek is not held hostage to the past. And we want our new role to be recognized, future potential to be appreciated. Nigeria would be 500 million people by 2050.
Okay.
By the end of this century, if the current growth rate persists, they would be more populous than India.
Is it?
That's an interesting
Yeah.
So
yes.
all that put together shows the potential of the country. And I think urbanization, the way it's going in Nigeria, the youthful bulge of population that's coming through creates its own opportunities.
Right, right.
Lagos is biggest city of Africa. It vies with Delhi and Mumbai in terms of population. Even when Nigeria's own population is only 22 crores.
Okay.
So we have 10% of Nigeria living in Lagos, Greater Lagos alone. All that.
It's a
need to
former
be
capital,
factored.
by the way. They
It was
changed the
former
capital from Lagos
You're
to
right, to decongest that city 30 years ago.
Okay.
When the oil started flowing and they had money, they created Abuja. But that is another part of the story.
In the meantime, High Commissioner Sajte, we're getting some more visuals from Abuja of the one-on-one meeting taking place between the two leaders, President of Nigeria and India's Prime Minister. Remember, this is the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Nigeria in 17 years. He was accorded a ceremonial welcome just a short while ago, and now the two leaders are holding one-on-one talks before the delegation level talks begin.
On your screens, Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, and the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, holding talks reviewing the strategic partnership between India and Nigeria, the whole gamut of relationship and cooperation in various sectors. The two leaders discussing further avenues perhaps to enhance the bilateral relationship between India and Nigeria. Remember, India and Nigeria have been strategic partners since 2007 with growing economics, energy and defense and education collaboration. Earlier today, we also saw Prime Minister Narendra Modi being accorded ceremonial reception by the Nigerian President. And now the two leaders holding one-on-one talk, and this is going to be followed by the delegation level talks between the two sides. And as we stay with these visuals, Ambassador,
just to put this into context for our viewers, Sakal, for those who are not familiar with either India or Nigeria and their position in the world today, both countries have share a colonial past. They were former British colonies, and by extension they are members of the Commonwealth. Nigeria is the largest country in Africa in terms of population. India is the largest country in the world. Similarly, India is the 5th largest economy in the world, and Nigeria is the 4th largest in Africa.
Yes. Can we quickly go across to
Sure.
Abhishek also? I think he's also with us. Abhishek, well, your thoughts as the two leaders are reviewing the whole gamut of relationship. It's a one-on-one level talk which will be followed by the delegation level talks. Your thoughts. Now, are we seeing some sort of a shift or a reset, or this whole relationship moving to next level, India and Nigeria, considering the chemistry, the warmth, the alignment which already exists between the two leaders, Prime Minister Modi and President Tinubu?
Yes, absolutely. This visit symbolizes the fact that we are trying to solidify our relationship even further. Just a couple of points, basically.
Sure.
See, I mean, as Ambassador Sajdev mentioned, like by 2050, Nigeria is touted to be, I think, third largest country after India and China. So every year, naturally, every year we are seeing millions of Nigerians are joining the workforce. Now, that is where India comes in. I mean, Indian businesses with their extensive familiarity and knowledge of the African markets, including Nigeria, and our also expertise in human resource development capacity, we should be leveraging, we should be doing way much more than what we are doing. Of course, we have taken many steps in the right direction, but it's time to like cement the ties even further. And I hope like through this visit, it will mark a critical juncture where like we are able to ink some important agreements. The second thing is relates to India's lines of credit program. So we through Exim Bank we give African countries lines of credit, including Nigeria. African countries, they are the biggest beneficiaries of India's lines of credit. But after post-COVID, what we are seeing is that African countries, I mean, they are not willing to take on any more credit, basically. While we do give LOCs and we do give concessional credits, I think the time is now, the fashion is to look at much more unique ways of private financing, like that could be through blended finance or particularly through PPPs. We should be looking at those sorts of initiatives as well. Although the lines of credit program, of course, it has served Indian interests very well. It continues to do so. But in my personal opinion, I think we should.
But Abhishek, there's also this buzz about the possibility of providing defense equipment and lines of credit for military purchases. Not really jumping the gun, but do you see this sort of moving in that direction? But considering the defense and security cooperation we have been providing to the Nigerian side.
Yes, so we have been providing LOCs in order for them to buy Make in India product. But the problem is that most of those LOCs are being repurposed and being used for other sectors. So that is where I think we should try to think of more other ways of financing as well, much more unique ways, especially through PPP. Of course, in some places, of course, it's not easy to do businesses, but with some guarantees from Exim Bank, I'm sure there are a lot of Indian startups and entrepreneurs who are willing to explore especially a big market like Nigeria.
All right.
Right. Dr. Mishra, High Commissioner Sajdev, do stay on. Let me bring in my colleague Vishal Barrister, who is standing by in Abuja. Vishal, if you can hear us, walk us through what is happening around you as we speak. I believe the two leaders are about to hold delegation level talks.
Well, Ramesh, before I answer to your question, even Vikas is fine because after all, we are all working for Vikas of both the countries, which means development in English. Yes, both leaders had one-on-one, and after that it would be followed by the delegation level talks. The Minister of External Affairs, Dr. S. Jaishankar, is here, and he would also be holding talks with his counterpart in Nigeria. After that, we are expecting a press conference to be addressed by the Secretary East and also by the Secretary Centre and West Africa. So it is a very important day for both the countries because the visit was long due and there are some important issues that need to be addressed. Let me tell you that Nigeria has the oil resources which it has been exporting to India. So the bilateral trade is slightly tilted in favor of Nigeria, and India would like to correct it because India has been helping the Nigerian economy for a very long time, extending the line of credits and other things. Also, not only this, but because Indian companies are the second largest employer in Nigeria, so definitely India would like to take advantage of the situation and would like to work more upon, as Sakal was asking, on the defense sector, because India is now exporting defense products to around 100 countries. This is what the defense minister told in public, addressing the media. And that is the key area that we both countries are looking at. And digital economy is another very important sector that both countries would be looking at, because Nigeria would definitely like to take the advantage of the expertise that India has, and green energy is another important field for Nigeria. Yes, after the press conference, we are expecting the finale of the show, which is the community interaction with the Prime Minister. India has a 50,000 strong community here in Nigeria, so it would be an occasion for an opportunity rather for those who have so far missed having one-on-one in their own way with the Prime Minister. There were people there at the airport, there are the people here at the hotel, and now a section of the Indian diaspora has been invited at the Congress Hall at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja. So it is going to be the grand finale for the day. But before that, important deliberations have to be worked upon. The 3 MOUs have already been inked by both the countries. But the one-on-one with the President of Nigeria, on whose invitation Prime Minister Narendra Modi is here, would set forth the blueprint of the future course of action. Ramesh?
Vishal, you spent the last several days now in Nigeria. Give us a sense of how much of India occupies the average Nigerian's mind space, as it were. High Commissioner Sachdev here in the studio was talking to us about Nigerian cinema, which is in a sense as big, if not bigger than Bollywood or Indian cinema. Talk to us about the Nigeria-India connect that straddles people-to-people ties between these two countries.
Well, absolutely, Ramesh. You've nailed it correctly. In fact, Bollywood is the largest producer of films around the world, and it is followed by the silver medal goes to Nigeria. And both countries have a long-standing relationship as far as cinema is concerned. They call it a creative economy. And the creative economy has a lot to do with the employment in both the countries. And in fact, Nigeria is taking a lot of help and training from the filmmaking world of India. And in fact, the postcard series was fully shot in Mumbai. And we all know that Rema is quite popular even in India. Baby Calm Down was his very popular line. And he had a concert in India also. So India and Nigerian films, they are very close to each other. In fact, when we talk about the popularity of the Indian films, even film stars like Dharmendra, Jitendra, and also Shah Rukh Khan, and even Mithun Chakravarti, who has been recently awarded the highest film cinema award for the cinema, Dada Saheb Phalke Award, is very, very popular here. And Indian stars, they also hold their private concerts here. So both the countries are looking at this key area, which does not even connect both the countries, people-to-people contact, as India has been very vocal about. But also it would provide employment opportunities, because filmmaking is quite a field which needs expertise. The VFX effects that we have been using in some of the films, like from the south. So these are the areas that both the countries are looking at. And as I told you, Bollywood is #1 and Nollywood is at #2.
So India clearly occupies a lot of mind space, just to quote Ramesh, as far as the Nigerian minds are concerned there. But if you could talk a bit more about this event in the evening later today, Vishal, I think you already guessed it, which will take the center stage also. The diaspora element, what's the buzz like? You've been there talking to Indians. Indians are the, if I may be allowed to use the word, movers and shakers there. They are occupying, they are contributing to their economy. They have their own presence and what all they bring to the table. And today they're going to be addressed by their Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Well, absolutely, Sakal. I just want to finish with what Ramesh had asked. The film was Bahubali 1 and 2, in which VFX effects were used. Yes, the grand finale is in the evening with the Indian diaspora. In fact, this Abuja is the new capital. It is an administrative city, but the buzz lies there in Lagos, which is the industrial hub, and it's a port town. So a lot of Indians have come from Lagos. In fact, they have come with their families, and they are trying to just sneaking. Some of them there might not get a chance because of the limited occupancy, but still they are here somehow to have a sneak peek or even have a look enters the hotel or leaves the hotel, but in the evening, the Indian diaspora, they have come all the way from Lagos, which is 8 hours journey on road, which is quite far, but they have traveled by air to use this opportunity interacting with the Prime Minister. And also here in Abuja, they are there, and Indians are all over the place in Nigeria. Some of them have also come from the neighboring African countries like and also Kenya. So it is going to be a very fantastic moment. We were receiving the Prime Minister yesterday. He had a grand reception here at the hotel and at the airport. Now meeting the people here at the hotel, and it would also give them an opportunity to listen to the Prime Minister, because so far they have been lucky enough, some of them, to shake hands with them or to get an autograph, like you saw the lady who had made a sketch of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But now would be the time to listen to the Prime Minister, and people are so very anxious to hear to him, because it is not only about listening to the leader who has made India the voice of the global south, but also to the man who has given us a vision that by 2047 India would be a developed nation. Viksit Bharat. Ramesh, in your words, Vikas.
Indeed. And also, before we let you go, Vishal, you also sent us a report on cuisine, how popular Indian cuisine is in Nigeria. You spoke about the Curry Connect as well. Talk to us a bit, if you will, about the Curry Connect and also the other traditional Indian medicine, for that matter, or even yoga.
Well, when we talk about the soft diplomacy, yoga, films, and Indian medicine, they are all part of India's soft diplomacy. We all know how yoga is getting popular all across the world. But talking specifically about the Curry Connect, it is the spices that the people of Nigeria especially love. And we've seen how people are not only loving the food, but they're also getting employment opportunities here. In fact, I yesterday interviewed a gentleman who's from the down south, and he has employed around 900 Nigerians in his chain of restaurants. So definitely there's a Curry Connect here, and Curry Connect involves a lot of spices, which makes butter chicken very tasty, as some of them told me. And yes, the mutton, which is there very popular here in Nigeria. So Curry Connect is there. Then the soft diplomacy of the Indian medicine and the yoga, along with the cinema, which is the backbone of the cultural connect between the two countries, is very much there.
Reiterating the complementarity that the two nations share. Thank you very much, Vishal, as of now, for joining us. And let's quickly go across to our guests, Mahesh Sachdeva, former Indian High Commissioner to Nigeria in our Delhi studio, and also Dr. Abhishek Mishra, who continues to stay with us. Before I go to High Commissioner, sir, Abhishek, a bit on the expectations and how the talk is going to, or the conversations are going to revolve around boosting trade, diversity, economic exchanges. We already have economic defense that we share, but then overall, because it's important to understand the collaboration and convergences, or a new set of ideas that might emerge. One-on-one talks have concluded perhaps, and we are now waiting for the delegation level talks. So now it's the focus particularly shifting to the business
end of the visit,
the hardcore business on the table. Abhishek.
Yes, I mean, apart from all these sectors which we have already mentioned, like pharmaceuticals, manufacturing, and more recently defense and security sectors as well, I think what's important is not just our India and Nigeria's bilateral relations, but also actually the multilateral relations. Now, we know that under Prime Minister Modi, we have been advocating for reform to multilateralism of the global governance system. Now, the thing is, India has always supported what is known as the Common African Position, or what is also known as the Izulvini Consensus, which basically advocates for 2 permanent seats from African countries in the United Nations Security Council.
Okay.
And also in the and as well as African countries also, they support India's candidature as well. So apart from reform multilateralism as well, if we are talking about also especially the BRICS as well, September last year, Nigeria is already a partner country in BRICS. And in my personal opinion, in the near future, Nigeria will become a member of the BRICS plus grouping.
I'm afraid we lost that link with Dr. Mishra. We'll try to reconnect with him in just a bit. But we still have with us our other guest in the studio, High Commissioner Sachdev. High Commissioner, so we've covered more or less all the bilateral aspects of the ties, be it political, economic, people-to-people ties. But just to harp on the point that Dr. Mishra was trying to make there, Nigeria's interest in becoming a member of the BRICS, number one, and number two, the attempts by both India and Nigeria to reform the UN to make it fit for purpose, as it were.
I think we are on the same page with Nigeria on this. Nigeria has been active at the international stage, and let's not forget the WTO is currently headed by a Nigerian lady, and she was earlier Deputy MD of the World Bank at one time, and was Finance Minister and Foreign Minister of Nigeria before that. We also have a large number of Nigerians living abroad, particularly in UK and United States, mostly in professional capacities. So Nigeria's footprints are sort of everywhere.
Right.
If you talk about the diaspora of Nigeria, entire Caribbeans has linked to Nigeria, because many of the people in Haiti went from Lagos area. They were as slaves and were settled there. So trading oil that Nigeria sells goes all over the world. It has its own requirements, which I mentioned at one time. Were the largest buyer of rice in the world, largest buyer of wheat in the world, and perhaps largest buyer of milk products. So all that makes Nigeria have a fairly deep and wide footprints all over the world. And therefore, what happens, since it's so import dependent, whatever happens in the world economy has quick reaction or response impact on Nigeria. If the oil prices go down, the whole country's economy gets affected, because 95% of Nigeria's exports are crude based and LNG based. So all that brings Nigeria into the global stream, and therefore they are very interested in stability and in terms of getting opportunities for funds for development of their own country, financing the trade, etc., and stabilizing their own economy. Joining BRICS with its associate new World Bank, created with Chinese money mostly, is something that Nigeria feels would help them in this regard. So that is something which motivates them to join BRICS. And they do have a bit of sibling competition with South Africa. Okay, South Africa is already a member of the not only BRICS but also G20. So they feel that.
And in the UN, High Commissioner, does Nigeria see itself as a potential contender or claimant to a UN SC membership? When you talk about South Africa, perhaps Egypt and possibly Nigeria? I mean, is it in the reckoning?
It's a very complicated issue among 54 African countries. Left to themselves, each one of them from Lesotho to Nigeria would like to be UN Security Council member, representing 54 countries of Africa. But the ambitions at the national level somehow do not find salience or cohesion in Addis Ababa at African Union.
But the ambitions of Nigeria in particular, and Nigeria being an integral driver when it comes to the larger grouping of African nations, for that and for those aspirations in a global South sense of settings, Nigeria needs India more than we need them.
I think
because this visit has that symbolism also attached to it, so would you agree?
Well, it's fair to say that from our perspective, but from Nigerian perspective, India needs support of 54 countries if it was to become a permanent member of the UN Security Council. Africa's vote would count.
Right.
And unless there is a consensus on the terms of reference that Africa should have to give its consensual support to expansion of the UN Security Council, it's not happening.
It's not happening.
So to create that consensus, I think Nigeria is very important.
Right.
As the biggest, most populous country in Africa, and as a representative of the black Africa. South Africa is not
fully
essentially
black.
A black country. It has majority of blacks, but then it is a very peculiar country. None of the other 53 countries think South Africa adequately reflects the continent. South Africans would like to be the representative of Africa, but most sub-Saharan Africans would rather have Nigeria or someone else to represent them.
Ramesh?
Right. Dr. Mishra, High Commissioner Rajdev spoke about two principal handicaps when it comes to India-Nigeria ties. One, in terms of connectivity, the absence of direct flights, and two, in terms of economic relationship, there are no Indian banks operating in Nigeria today. In that context, there's also another related aspect of digital connectivity. There's scope for doing more on that front, especially given how UPI is becoming popular across the world. India's IT prowess or expertise, and also the other emerging technologies that are engaging the attention of much of the world as we speak.
Absolutely. India's push has been to, export our digital solutions to African markets. Already in a country like Mauritius, UPI is already operational. And there has been, not just Nigeria, there have been many other African countries who have shown interest in exploring the possibilities of using the Unified Payments Interface System. As I mentioned earlier, our JAM Trinity. So bottlenecks are certainly there, especially in terms of almost nil, zero banking presence, and also in terms of no direct connectivity. But given the right push, I think we are in a position to, let's see what are the exact outcomes of this visit, what kind of documents do we sign. I'm aware of signing a customs union agreement as well. In terms of survey corporation also we are going to sign. So the visit is important. Let's hope that it comes up with much more practical solutions to these already bottlenecks. And yes, green growth and as well as digital connectivity is currently one of the two new sectors which we are exploring, particularly not just with Nigeria but with other African countries as well.
Abhishek, earlier we also touched upon the security and defense cooperation, and then of course we had to cut short that bit of a conversation because we had said live feed coming now. A bit more on that, for the fact that we know that Nigeria is grappling with their own set of security challenges, insurgency, terrorism like Boko Haram, and what we are given to understand that there is already an NSA level dialogue apparatus in place between India and Nigeria. Do you think in the conversations this will also sort of come up, because since we are talking or touching upon the challenges respectively, but for Nigeria this is more important?
Absolutely, because Nigeria is a regional powerhouse in West Africa, and what we know is that in the Sahel region there's been a lot of plurilateralism which is coming up in terms of 2-3 countries coming together, bandwagoning and joining together and creating a common alliance in terms of economic and defense partnership. Now, Nigeria being such a regional powerhouse, obviously the regional countries are looking up to Nigeria and Nigerian leadership through the ECOWAS economic community for West African states through there to sometimes mediate between all these dialogues and all. And where India comes into the picture is that again due to the Indian diaspora, because of what the Indian diaspora is doing in the how instrumental they have been in the economic development of Nigeria. So of course you have to bring in all the stakeholders. Defense, we do Africa-India Free Funding Exercise, AFINDEX. We also do India-Africa Defense Ministers Conclave, which happens concurrently with the DEF Expos. I think already 2-3 editions we have done of that. So these are new initiatives, and the good thing is that these are not ad hoc initiatives. These are, what we are seeing is we are seeing continuity.
Continuation, so,
continuity, that's a very important term when it comes to India's and Africa's engagement. Like recent President Draupadi Murmu's visit, as well as NSA level as well. Harshvardhan Shringla also had held meetings recently. So it's all throughout the continent, and defense, as I mentioned, they have shown interest in LCA, Tejas, and also Dhruv, advanced attack helicopters. But unfortunately, Nigeria has, although they have shown interest, but they decided to go ahead with the Turkey's attack helicopters. But I'm sure, after some bureaucratic difficulties are worked out, I'm sure Nigeria is certainly a market where it's certainly a target market for in terms of India's defense export.
Right. We would like to just, just to put this in context before I hand it over to you, Ramesh, that there is already an existing mechanism of collaboration in military training where Indian officers are assisting in the establishment of these institutes in Nigeria. And this is important. Right. In their key defense institutions, sir, would you like to perhaps throw light on that, including the National Defense Academy and the Naval War College?
Nigerian Defense Academy is the only establishment in the world which India established abroad.
Okay, that's interesting.
This was done in mid-60s, and while I was there in 2011, the first batch that graduated out of it decided to honor the Indian commandant, Brigadier General Verma, with a citation. To receive that, I was invited. And there was a retired, teary-eyed Nigerian Navy officer who said, "High Commissioner, I want you to know that but for Brigadier Verma, I may not have been there in the armed forces." So he explained that soon after they joined, physicals were done, and 3 of the cadets were found to be below the minimum height standards. And the file was moved up to Brigadier Verma for their dismissal.
Okay.
Unexpectedly, the file came back with Brigadier Verma having scribbled on it, "They are young, they will grow," and signed, "No need to dismiss." And this was narrated by that Navy officer, retired. And I asked him, "Sir, and what did you retire as?" He said, "I was chief of Nigeria's Navy." So that is how deep the appreciation goes. 7 of the 16 presidents of Nigeria were trained in India as defense officers.
Oh, there's so much.
So much to link up with between the two defenses.
Yeah.
When you saw the Guard of Honor, you could have thought of the instructions being loudly said to be similar to an Indian Guard of Honor.
21 gunshots.
That is universal, but the Kandhe Shastra, etc., were quite similar. When the Nigerian military officers of that generation met each other in my presence, they said to each other, Shabash!
Right, High Commissioner, do stay on. We're getting some more visuals, this time of the delegation level talks between the two sides, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Tinubu of Nigeria. These are the latest shots that's becoming available to us from Abuja, Nigeria.
Prime Minister Modi's visit, in all likelihood, will focus on expanding cooperation in key areas such as trade, defense, culture, education. On your screens, ladies and gentlemen, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the presence of the President of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Delegation level talks being held between the two sides. Earlier we saw the one-on-one between the two leaders of India and Nigeria, and now the delegation level talks led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India. We can also see on our screens Dr. S. Jaishankar, Minister of External Affairs of India, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, Foreign Secretary, and the top leadership from the Indian side, MEA. The delegation being led by Prime Minister Modi.
Indeed, one can expect both sides to discuss about all issues of interest or concern to both Abuja and New Delhi, including but not limited to energy security, food security, maritime security, defense and security as well, in addition to people-to-people ties, trade and investment, banking cooperation as well, possibly in the talks that will take place, and also multilateral cooperation in BRICS, in the UN, and also within the Commonwealth, because both countries share a colonial power. They were former British colonies and members of the Commonwealth. So in all, it's going to be an eventful delegation level talks, which holds promise of taking the relationship to an even higher level in the days and months ahead.
Several MOUs are expected to be signed. We will wait for the official confirmation. Areas such as culture, geological survey, digital public infrastructure, traditional medicines, customs, audiovisual cooperation, so on and so forth. So we're going to, we're going to wait for an official word on that as we speak. The delegation level talks are underway between the two sides.
In the meantime, let's pull up some more news for our viewers, Sakal. Our colleague Vishal Barrister caught up with T. Venkat Subramanian, the General Secretary of the Indian Pharmaceuticals Manufacturers and Importers in Nigeria, to find out more about the significance of Prime Minister Modi's visit on pharmaceutical industries in the African country. Take a listen.
The global presence of Indian pharmaceutical industry is very strong. We are always called as the pharmacy of the world. And the Indian pharmaceutical companies are doing extremely well in the Nigerian market, and particularly we also have an association called Indian Pharmaceutical Manufacturers and Importers, which I also represent as a General Secretary. In fact, this visit was something which we were waiting for, and we are expecting some major breakthroughs to come, like talking about Indian pharmacopoeias to be appreciated, which is now being recognized globally by many people.
Right, so they were listening to the Indian representative who was speaking about India-Nigeria cooperation in the pharmaceutical sector, which, by the way, is a key component of the bilateral trade volume between the two countries, India and Nigeria. Let's go back to the visuals again of the delegation level talks taking place in Abuja, Nigeria, between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the President of Nigeria, Mr. Tinubu.
And High Commissioner, sir, as we stay with the visuals, in the context of Nigeria's need or expectations from India, there's also this talk about the technological infrastructure advancements that they would like to, take or learn from India, or have some sort of a more robust understanding and arrangements.
I think there are many gains from not having to reinvent the wheel in Nigeria. Indian experience, expertise is relevant because the conditions, social, economic and logistical, are quite similar to what Nigeria has. Once again, they are fascinated by India's leapfrog over the existing logistical difficulties in IT sector, for example. They don't. Bangalore may still have potholes, but the Bangalore is a global hub for IT and ITES. They would like something similar to happen to Nigeria. It will take a long time for Nigeria to have first-rate infrastructure. They don't have to wait that long. Jobs have to be created, people have to be deployed, and new growth models have to be created. And that's where Indian experience comes in.
Yes.
In softer sectors, harder sectors as well. They're fascinated by the way we are creating national highways.
I see Indian experience in a lot of fields there, almost everything.
Most of them. NHAI, for example, is creating roads by not investing government money. Contractors are supposed to build and then earn money through toll collections over the next 10 years, 15 years, etc. And that fascinates Nigerians. Power situation in Nigeria continues to be difficult. You'll be surprised, Nigeria's population is 22 crores and Delhi's population is 1/10 of that. But the total electricity consumed in Nigeria is equal to what Delhi consumes.
Okay.
So in terms of per capita power availability, it is around 1/10 of a Delhiite's. They would like this to be helped, and they are a gas and oil rich country. So they should be possible for them to generate more power instead of flaring gas. So all those issues are pertinent. They want to saddle over all these, and Indian models including CNG, LNG, etc. being used, solar power, wind power, the way they have gone up in India in a sustainable manner could be a role model, and that is where I think we are very relevant to that country.
Yes.
Indeed, India has much to offer to Nigeria. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Agriculture. Why does Africa's largest population have to depend on imports of rice, wheat, and milk powder, when Nigeria has such a fertile land and river basins which are well irrigated?
Okay. With your permission, I will just interrupt you for a second here, and I think Ramesh would like to go to Abhishek, but before that, on your screens, these are the latest visuals of the delegation level talks underway as we speak between India and Nigeria. You can see on your screens Nigerian President, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, making his remarks. We'll get the details a little later, and here you have Prime Minister Modi there. All smiles, but these are smiles, but there's a lot of business element. That's the hardcore business on table. And Abhishek, if you could just like to come in here, the focus clearly shifting on business, and I think Prime Minister Modi of India also making his remarks. But Abhishek, these are the latest visuals. We stay with the visuals. Abhishek, please go ahead. Business on table, both sides, India and Nigeria.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is the first leg of Prime Minister Modi's tour. From here, I think he goes to Brazil and then Guyana. I mean, the diaspora, I mean, me and Ambassador Saddev, we have mentioned like the diaspora engagement is very robust. It continues to, and Nigeria is a very important, I might stress, partner, African partner for India. We have been continuously, I mean, I think the defining feature of our engagement along with diaspora is, I think, continuity. We have seen that like India has set up like the National Defence Academy in Kaduna and also the Naval War College in Port Harcourt. So these are all a testament to the strong ties and the affable relationship which we have. I would personally like to see more Nigerian students coming to India. the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, we already have, back in 2018, we started the Study in India program. So we would like to see more students, not just from Africa, but particularly from Nigeria, come and study in India as well. For that, some of the processes which needs to be taken care of, like EFFRO registrations and the issue of visa or overstaying. I mean, those things, through these meetings, it can be discussed and sorted out, then it will bode really well. Connectivity is of paramount importance. I think really hope that that thing gets corrected, especially from Mumbai, Delhi and Ahmedabad. There should be direct flights because there is, as we know, such a vibrant Indian community there, more than 50,000. That's not a small number. And even just talking about Indian diaspora in Africa in general, it's over 3 million. And that is, although they are mostly in Eastern and Southern Africa due to our proximity, but still that is not a number to overlook. 3 million is quite a substantial number of PIOs and NRIs there would we have. So definitely we should be trying to leverage, and we should try to focus our attention on all these new areas like customs cooperation, survey cooperation, and also the security and defense engagement as well.
Indeed. So as we approach the business end of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Nigeria, the first by an Indian Prime Minister in 17 years, let me turn to High Commissioner Sachdev for a brief comment on the state of trade and investment ties as they exist between India and Nigeria. High Commissioner, you've authored a book titled Nigeria, a Business Manual, first published in 2014 with a second edition coming out in 2018. Tell us a bit about the state of play in terms of the incentives for investments in Nigeria for Indian investors in particular.
I think Nigeria follows a fairly progressive and user-friendly policies to promote foreign investment. Full repatriation is allowed in most cases. The bureaucratic hurdles are less. They have their own independent Nigerian Commission for Promotion of Investments, which plays a vital role in registering foreign investments and promoting it and facilitating the issues connected with it. I think there is also a whole swath of bilateral fora. Nigeria-India Business Community, for example, there are various forums on which the two sides, businessmen on both sides, can join together. Then again, having a large diaspora with business engagements gives you an option of either investing on single-handed venture or in a joint venture. And if you want to do it in a joint venture, would you do it with an Indian who is already there in Nigeria as an investor, brings in experience onto the surface, onto the joint venture, or would you like to do it with a big Nigerian conglomerate? Those are the issues that need to be decided on case by case basis. Nigeria has its own, how should I say, dispersal.
Okay.
36 states, and each one with a different language, different demands, and some of them in the north are Islamic, some others like Lagos and Port Harcourt are largely Christians. So those are the issues. Let me bring in an example.
Sure.
I won't give you the name, but soon in 2009 I learnt that a particular Indian group had purchased 3 cosmetic companies in Nigeria. So I happened to be in India those days on leave, and I greeted the chairman saying, welcome. He joined more than 100 Indian companies already there. So he invited me for lunch in Delhi. Next time he was there from Mumbai, and we sat down and I said, Mr. Chairman, my opening question was, what new products are you going to introduce to Nigerian market? And there was a problem, because what he said was, we have succeeded a great deal in having male hair dyes in South Africa, where we introduced them. I think I'll do that first in Nigeria as well. So, well, I had to say what I had to say. I said, Mr. Chairman, I don't think it's a good idea. Well, we had begun on a wrong note, and the chairman was not happy. So why? I said, because Nigerian male's idea of ceremonial perfection is to shave his head before going to church or to mosque. He didn't believe me. Now,
So
it was clear that he was never been to
Information
Nigeria.
deficit.
He was never been to Nigeria. True. Next time we talked on phone, he was in Lagos and I was in Abuja, and I noticed that his tenor was different.
Different, yeah.
And he's seen shaven heads in Nigeria and was convinced that hair dyes were not a good idea.
True. In education and capacity building, if it's just a quick focus for the viewers to just understand how the kind of distance that both nations have covered. Indian government annually offers at least 500 scholarships under the Cooperation ITEC program, and that's something, Abhishek, would you like to come in here very quickly, because we see a huge chunk of Nigerian students not only in Delhi but across India. So this is also a very it's a part of the robust understanding between India and Nigeria, and that's perhaps how and why we see the largest pool of professionals being Nigerian professionals being trained in India, and they go back and they add to their economy. India playing a critical role.
Absolutely. I think Nigeria has, over the decades, over the years, they have been a big beneficiary of Indian capacity building programs, particularly our ITEC program and also the ICCR, Indian Council for Cultural Research scholarships as well. We have been focusing, we focus on, as I mentioned earlier, human resource development is one of our advantage, and also IT sector as well. So in terms of Nigerian students, personally I think the slots should be increased. 500, for a country like Nigeria, such a big, large economy, I think it's a little less number. I hope in the future that can be corrected. But yes, capacity building, it has been the hallmark of obviously Indian engagement in Nigeria, and going forward, because of the kind of demand, because so many young Nigerians are entering into the workforce, so of course they want professionals, and studying in the Indian education system or being beneficiaries of such scholarships offered by the government of India, it's really helpful. There are many examples in other African countries as well, who have, it's all both, it's niche capabilities and capacities which are being developed. And in terms of the courses also which are offered, we have a program called the E-Vidya Bharati and E-Arogya Bharati program, which is basically, which was basically previously known as the Pan-Africa E-Network project, which is the brainchild of former President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So that program, at least the tele education part of it, E-Vidya Bharati, that was a huge success. It was working in almost 47 African countries. We connected them, our Indian institutes like IGNU or AIMS Hospital.
So there's already an existing consolidated institutional framework and company support that India and Nigeria have shared over a period of time, Ramesh.
Right, and that, I was struck by the fact that he spoke about the Pan-Africa e-network project, Sakal.
Yes.
It reminds me of another project, the telemedicine project. I don't know if either Dr. Mishra or High Commissioner Sachdev would want to weigh in on the status of the telemedicine project that India launched for Africa several years ago. Dr. Mishra, would you want to come in first?
Yeah, so the Pan-Africa e-network project had two components, which was one was the tele-education, another was telemedicine component. Under that we did provide continuous CMEs, continuous medical examinations, consultations for African doctors, etc. I think right now it's known as the Arogya Bharati program. It's the tele-education component is more popular amongst Africans than the tele-medical component. There are various reasons, I mean, in terms of, it's a one-way sort of a communication only from the Indian side to the African side. So if those processes are improved, I'm sure there will be much more, way bigger takers for these initiatives, but it's appreciated.
Right, let's take you back to Abuja, where we are given to understand we are standing by for some more inputs coming in.
Oremi. मेरे और मेरे डेलीगेशन के गर्मजोशी से भरे स्वागत के लिए मैं आपका हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। जैसे अभी बताया गया, 17 इयर्स के बाद भारत के प्रधानमंत्री की ये यात्रा है और मेरे लिए खुशी की बात है कि मेरे तीसरे टर्म में मुझे प्रारंभ में ही नाइजीरिया आने का अवसर मिला है और आपके भव्य स्वागत का, मेजबानी का सौभाग्य मिला है। मैं इसके लिए आपका बहुत बहुत आभारी हूं। एक्सेलेंसी, पिछले महीने नाइजीरिया में फ्लड्स में हुई जानहानि के लिए मैं 140 करोड़ भारतवासियों की तरफ से और मेरी तरफ से संवेदनाएं प्रकट करता हूं। आपके राहत कार्यों के समर्थन में भारत 20 टन मानवीय सहायता भेज रहा है। एक्सेलेंसी, भारत और नाइजीरिया के बीच भारत और नाइजीरिया के बीच स्ट्रेटेजिक संबंधों को मजबूत करने में आपकी निजी प्रतिबद्धता, इसके लिए मैं आपका अभिनंदन करता हूं। मुझे खुशी है कि पिछले वर्ष भारत की अध्यक्षता में नाइजीरिया की पहली बार G20 समिट में गेस्ट कंट्री के रूप में जुड़ा और ये सौभाग्य हमको मिला और हमने मिलकर अफ्रीकन यूनियन को G20 की स्थायी सदस्यता दी। ये मेरे हिसाब से बड़ा ऐतिहासिक काम हुआ है। यह भी खुशी है कि नाइजीरिया को ब्रिक्स में पार्टनर कंट्री का दर्जा दिया गया है। मैं भारत की तरफ से इस महत्वपूर्ण उपलब्धि के लिए भी नाइजीरिया को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। यह आपके नेतृत्व में नाइजीरिया की विश्व पटल पर अहम भूमिका का परिचायक है। एक्सेलेंसी, नाइजीरिया के साथ अपनी स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप को हम उच्च प्राथमिकता देते हैं। रक्षा, ऊर्जा, आर्थिक विषय, टेक्नोलॉजी, हेल्थ, एजुकेशन, कल्चर जैसे कई क्षेत्र ऐसे हैं। मैं हमारा सहयोग मजबूत है और अनेक नई संभावनाएं भी हमारे इस संबंधों में जुड़ी हुई है। जैसे अभी हमने चर्चा की, आतंकवाद, अलगाववाद, पायरेसी या ड्रग तस्करी जैसी चुनौतियों से निपटने के लिए हम मिलकर काम करते रहे हैं और मजबूती से हम आगे भी करते रहेंगे। नाइजीरिया में रहने वाले 60,000 से ज्यादा भारतीय समुदाय के लोग हमारे संबंधों में अहम कड़ी हैं। उनकी देखभाल के लिए एक गार्डियन के रूप में आप जो उनको संभालते हैं, इसके लिए मैं आपका बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। मुझे विश्वास है कि आज की हमारी वार्ता से हमारे संबंधों में नया अध्याय जुड़ेगा और हम मिलकर वैश्विक स्तर पर ग्लोबल साउथ की प्राथमिकताओं को उजागर करते रहेंगे और हमारे संयुक्त प्रयासों से सफलता भी मिलेगी। एक्सेलेंसी, मुझे नाइजीरिया के राष्ट्रीय सम्मान देने के लिए आपके निर्णय के लिए मैं हार्दिक आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। यह सम्मान केवल मेरा नहीं, लेकिन ये सम्मान 140 करोड़ भारतवासियों का सम्मान है और यह भारत नाइजीरिया के सदियों पुराने जो संबंध है, उन संबंधों का सम्मान है और इस सम्मान के लिए मैं नाइजीरिया का, आपके सरकार का और देशवासियों का हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं।
Prime Minister making his opening remarks there. Well, I think he started with a warm greeting in a local language, so perhaps High Commissioner could tell us more about it. But just to quickly go through the major operative portions or key areas that Prime Minister focused upon, he talked about, well, first of all, he said he thanked the President of Nigeria for inviting him to their country, and he said, I'm glad that this is happening in my third term. Then he also spoke about the months that left large scale of destruction in Nigeria, for which India has offered the assistance worth 20-ton human assistance, and he said that India and 140 crore Indians are standing with the people of Nigeria with complete solidarity. Prime Minister also talked about consolidation of strategic ties and how India, under its chairmanship during last year's G20, worked relentlessly in terms of the inclusion of African Union in G20. And he says, also Prime Minister mentioned, Ramesh, before I hand it over to you, that he is very happy to note that Nigeria has been elevated to the status of partner country in BRICS. Just that continuity bit, because both leaders would be now going to Rio to participate in the BRICS summit.
Indeed,
and also he spoke
about
the role of Nigeria at the global level.
Also he touched upon terrorism, fighting terrorism and extremism, piracy and also drug running. He spoke about the contribution of the 7,000 strong Indian diaspora in Nigeria and also the contribution that both countries can make together as members of the Global South.
Yes,
High Commissioner, what do you make of the PM's opening remarks there at the delegation level talks?
The message.
Did he tick all the right boxes for you, as it were?
Yes, he did. Very much so. Oremi means my friend in Yoruba language spoken around Lagos. So that is where he got the clapping because people appreciated it. He has a knack of using the local languages there. Wherever he goes, so it's a good opener. I think where significance of it lies is that once he said that in the beginning of his third term, to me that appears that during the third term he would like to catch up with the past 17 years of gap and fulfill the aspirations the two countries may have in terms of their connectivity, their similarities and complementarities being leveraged. I think there was also a a primordial mention of defense, terrorism, separatism, etc., which is something that Nigeria and India both have been combating at their own levels in the regional precincts as well. I think the way Prime Minister began by announcing 20 tons of relief material for the flood victims is itself a sign of sensitivity that he shows, awareness that he showed about Nigeria's practical requirements, which augurs very well to what we have discussed.
He thanked the President as a guardian of a strong 60,000
exactly.
Indian
He
diaspora.
also talked about diaspora and thanked the President of Nigeria for being guardian of 60,000 Indians, which itself is a good thing, because there are some elements in Nigeria who are, should I say, jealous of the prosperity of identifiable foreigners. Indians look different. So these elements are microscopic, but they can be very valuable in terms of difficulties that the economy of the country is facing at the moment. So the externalization, saying we are poor because somebody else is profiting, etc. Those kind of tendencies.
There was also this mention of Naya Adhyay, new chapter in India-Nigeria.
Right.
Remember we spoke about the reset or a shift earlier.
That's
so
right.
what do you make of this?
I think it is a sign that page is being reset, and the old drivers like oil need to give way to new drivers, which we mentioned, many of which we mentioned: agriculture, local manufacturing, skilling, and power, infrastructure building, connectivity, etc. So I believe the message is very positive and forward-looking.
High Commissioner, just for the benefit of viewers who are not familiar with the intricacies of the issue at hand here, when we talk about terrorism and separatism in particular, would you like to give our viewers an overview or a backgrounder on why we are talking about this issue in the context of India-Nigeria ties? We know about the Boko Haram, we know about the threats they pose to Nigeria and the region at large, and also talk a bit if you will about the ethnic and religious composition of Nigeria, what makes this threat even more menacing for a multi-ethnic, multi-religious country such as Nigeria.
Yes, I think this is quite significant. If you recall, within a decade of Nigeria's independence in 1960, we had the Biafra War, where South, the oil producing area, tried to secede from Nigeria, and a bloody civil war followed, which took more than 1 million lives through conflict, through starvation, through other miseries. And Nigeria has been, how should I, chastened by that experience. Till nearly 15 years ago, Boko Haram surfaced, which was partly a response to the ferment in Sahel area, as Libya's Colonel Gaddafi went down and his huge arsenal became free for all, for distribution. And there was also a certain amount of make-believe that anglicized way of uniting Nigeria was leading to Islam's decline. Boko Haram actually meant the English alphabet should be forbidden.
Right.
This became the war cry, and at its peak it was a very serious threat, localized to Maiduguri province, one of the 36 provinces of Nigeria. And it has receded thanks to Nigerian Army's intervention in a forceful manner, in an effective manner, but it still lurks around. Other disruptors such as oil bunkering, such as piracy on the high seas in the Gulf of Guinea area, where Nigeria is the biggest country. Also the conflict between herders and the settled farmers and kidnappers. Boko Haram kidnapped girl students, which caused plenty of disapprobation all over the world. A similar model has been followed by other ransom makers and takers in North particularly. So all that has been mentioned in this.
Okay, so clearly now the delegation level talks have concluded, and now the focus, Ramesh, shifts to the Diaspora event, which is going to take place in few hours from now. But I think we need to wrap up this special broadcast on your channel DD India, Prime Minister Modi in Nigeria.
You can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code when it becomes available on the screen to download it.
Yes. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, on platform X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in, and we should also take this opportunity to thank High Commissioner for joining us in the studio. So it was such a pleasure, and you know, the kind of in-depth insight you gave us about India-Nigeria relationship in the last so many decades. Thank you very much. And also Dr. Abhishek, if he is here with us and if he can hear us. Thank you both of you. Ramesh?
And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran.
And I'm Sakal Bhatt from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching this special broadcast.